Sure. Prodigal is a adventure puzzler game where you are playing the role of Orin or whatever you chose to name yourself, returning home after some time away after receiving a letter from your grandfather. So the majority of the game is about interacting with the town and getting reacquainted with people you used to know and whatever adventure you wind up on from there.
All right.
Yeah, so a lot of the game is kind of inspired from like old Zelda games, but also we have really great characters. And then another kind of option is you can marry some of the girls in the game, and there's like social, I guess like you could call them like social links in a sense with the characters, and you can find out more about them.
All right. All right. So this is yeah. It actually looks a little bit like Zelda.
Yeah,
The style is heavily inspired by both Pokemon and Oracle of Seasons from the Game Boy Color. So there's a little touch of a couple different nostalgic games in our art style.
So yeah, what's your goal in this game? What are you trying to accomplish in it?
The initial goal is returning home and getting reacquainted with the town and finding your place in it. So you, as a trained miner, start helping out the blacksmith's assistant and gathering materials for him. So that's the initial objective of the game.
Mhm. So has this game come out already, or is it?
The game is out and complete. We've been doing some post-release content patches, just adding new stuff to uh, flesh it out and give it a little more fun to be had. So we added a pseudo new game plus system to let people have some fun after they've beaten it already, because with the multiple paths and girls to engage with, it already kind of motivates multiple playthroughs. So to give an additional layer to that to make those more interesting, I thought was valuable. So we have our biggest patch planned to launch on March 15th, and that's going to be our last hurrah of the content patches post release. So we're excited about that.
All right.
yeah, a big push with our game is really to try to make the town feel alive with all the different characters and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Reading these things, what's going on? Okay.
Yeah, Oakley is one of my personal favorites.
We had our most recent streamer fell victim to Oakley, so she is infamous within our community.
Yeah, the beginning of the game is just kind of trying to get acquainted with everyone since he just came back after a really long time.
So how many people are there in the town?
Oh gosh. I do you know off the top of your head, Min?
Probably around 20.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't have an exact number just because we've added so many and there's like some secret characters and stuff too around.
Alright, so we need some keys or something to open different doors over here.
Yeah, and then for the arena, you'll need to have some kind of weapon.
It starts out a little slow in kind of placing you in a situation where you're stuck in the town, so that you basically have two options. You either find your grandfather to progress the story forward, or you can run around and explore the town and get to know the people at this stage. We didn't want to cut people loose because we didn't want them to get lost in the overworld and start exploring further than they were supposed to. So the hand is somewhat held during the start, but after that point, I've made a pretty concerted effort to ensure that your hand isn't held and you can truly just do whatever you're able to, so long as you have the tools. And at that point, it's your adventure. But this part's pretty locked in.
Yeah, of course, you can sort of, I'd say, like, hold the hand in that way, create stuff you need, you like to find keys or stuff, things like
Yeah,
that.
Mhm.
Or so.
people will give you like directions and stuff, and you can choose if you want to pursue that or not, or just follow the story.
So here's like a big gathering of sailors or something.
Yeah,
They're fighting over there.
like a port town, so you have a bunch of sailors coming in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So yeah, Nora is one of our kind of, if you ever get lost based on, like with the main story, you can always go her and she'll kind of direct you. Because it is so open world and like open options, sometimes people will be doing side quests or like talking to people so long that they just need to have someone that's like, oh, by the way, you can go over here to like work on the story.
Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
what's the big picture in the game like? I mean, the structure, you do some small quests at first, I believe, and then you find a boss, or...
It follows a pretty generic Zelda format of dungeon culminating with boss, receive item. So one area where we deviated is, rather than having an inventory full of multiple items that you're having to go through the UI to switch in and out of constantly, we give 3 items and then we optimize the use of those and then find different ways to make use of them in each dungeon. So you're never really sitting there playing UI shuffle with items,
Yeah. Okay.
which
I
helps you
mean,
feel like you're in game more consistently and not pulled out of the experience.
oh. Can you tell me something about the items, for example? What kind of items you have?
So there are 3 main items. We have the rust knuckle, which is a lot of people call it the punching glove. It is a big red fist that you can punch boulders and shatter them, or punch to move heavier boulders. We have the lariat, which is a lasso that will grab onto hooks or pull things to you, be that an enemy or a barrel. And then the coolest one, the one that has the most reactions, is the dread hand. It is a shadowed hand that apparently moves on its own somewhat, but when you use it, you will be teleported to the entrance of a room. So it's used in a lot of interesting puzzles where you're intentionally soft locking yourself, but then warping back to the entrance in order to finish the puzzle.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
That sounds interesting. So
Yeah,
with
the
the
dread
lasso,
hand.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just gonna say the Dread Hand is definitely like a fan favorite.
Yeah, and with the lasso, if there's like a mountain and I don't know if there is, but I'm just asking, maybe there is one. You can
Yes,
get
there is a
higher
mountain you
with the
climb
hammer.
up with
Yeah.
the lariat. So it's a good time.
I could also see from the game that there was some familiar names. So did you put yourselves in the game as well?
Oh yeah, the Kayla is a little dev insert, and a lot of people thought she was one of like the dateable girls, so we had to add some dialogue that was like, no, because I didn't really want to write, I guess, myself as like a marriage option.
It would be a strange experience for sure. I think there's only 2 NPCs that are developers, right? It's Pillow and you.
Yes.
Oh no, Scoot has Edith.
Oh yeah, and then yeah, currently I think there's just the 3.
So
Like,
I was away when you were talking about. I just heard something about the marriage ups, and I didn't understand it well. So what happens? You get married and you get some special something, or how does it
so
work?
the marriages function somewhat like storylines and quests for those girls, where you're getting closer to them and learning more about them, and then that culminates with a CG event of them in a wedding dress as kind of the reward.
Mhm.
It will change your ending based on who you marry, but there isn't some sort of power or gameplay incentive as to who you marry. So people can feel like, oh, I think Keaton is best girl. I'm going to marry her. But unfortunately, Oakley has the best power buff, so I have to marry Oakley.
Oh
So I
yeah,
wanted to
that
avoid that
that's really
power
common in
problem.
games. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what happened
you
with.
don't like this character, but you have to take this character because
Yeah.
some extra skills.
Also, you don't have to marry anyone. I think that was kind of like something we wanted to make sure is that the marriage is just another, I guess, thing you can do, but
Mm.
you don't have to do it. So that way, if people don't want to do that or just want to focus on like the puzzles or they're not really into like the whole like social link aspect, they can just skip it and not have gameplay be affected.
We worked really hard to make sure that the dungeons and adventure aspect of the game stood well enough on its own that you could totally and entirely ignore the whole social aspect of it, and it would still be a solid game. So,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
with our another thing we're doing with the last patch is with all the other ones, we've added a new girl or a new quest line. So with the upcoming patch, it's basically all dungeons and additional bosses. So
Mm.
that again is feeding into that idea of we want to make sure that the game feels fleshed out enough and challenging enough to people who have no interest in the social aspect.
Yeah. How about we were talking about Zelda being an influence, but how about other games like I don't know why, but I'm thinking of Grandia. I don't know if you know the game. Maybe.
So when it comes to the more specific inspirations, I can't
Mm.
really answer that. I know that the only ones I know of are Pokemon and the Oracle of Seasons and Link's Awakening. We have one pixel artist, so we have 2 pixel artists, and the other one says consistently that he was inspired by Minish Cap, but that's a much more complicated art style, so I'm not sure how he was inspired by it. That's about all I know on the art end of things.
Okay.
For me, I did the writing for the girls, and I guess for me, Stardew Valley and like Persona, I definitely really look up to in terms of writing and like characters, specifically like Persona, because those are some of my favorite games. So I really wanted to have the characters feel real, but also kind of enjoyable enough that it's not just like they're not just like, I guess, basic. They all have some like unique characteristics.
Oh, yeah. Oh, mean like an achievement. Homecoming. It's nice.
So in the former room we were in, there was some kind of enemies or something, some people with the swords as well. So they are.
So the opening of the game kind of introduces a bit of political tension between North and South. You have the South that is run by kings and lords, and then the North that is basically the frontier. So they don't have any sort of leadership or government, and they're rather fond of that aspect, their freedom and resistance to crowns. But the South will send knights and lords north to claim different sections of land to try and, quote, bring order. So that sequence showed a Lord Frederick and his knights causing trouble because they felt, or the Lord felt, disrespected. And Amadeus, a mysterious pirate captain who looks rather ghost like, appeared behind him and then sent him through the floor to send a message before lightning bolting all of the soldiers. So Amadeus is a very aggressive enemy of the South and anything that it stands for. And you, as the main character, are just coming north after leaving to go south for a while. So he's not terribly fond of you either for the start.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right. So those are the sort of. Are there other kinds of enemies here as well, or?
So the
Yeah.
majority. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of different enemies. I guess Min could probably talk more about them because he's the one who designed a lot of them.
So all of our enemies are monsters of some sort. We don't have any enemies that Orn directly fights that are humans. We wanted to make sure that they were all some sort of monsters. So we have skeletons and zombies and bats, kind of the generic adventure cast of enemies.
Yeah. So there's no question about that if they are really evil or not or anything like that.
Well, the political complications of the different characters, you can ask those questions, and you can see some of that combat
okay.
between some of that disagreement between them. The differences there ideologically, but you as the main character aren't inserting yourself into a grand political scheme or anything. You're just a miner trying to make your way in the world.
Oh yeah, I see.
So yeah, now you have a little bit more of the world opened up, and you're given kind of the first, I guess, like story beat of the game is helping make a sword for your grandfather is kind of like a present from you and Bolivar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit lost. Which way should I go?
You want to go left, kind of over towards the mines.
I'm really bad with directions.
Oh no, you're good.
Then you go south here.
The game is kind of made to get lost because there's so much to explore. If I know Min's really doesn't want to hold hands, and I think that works well because there's characters you can miss if you don't explore.
Yeah, we tried our best. So we've cut down the overworld a number of times over the course of our development, and then we consistently added more events and things to discover in that smaller overworld because we wanted people to feel lost in a more controlled environment so that they would consistently run into different things, so that they wouldn't actively realize, oh, I have no idea where I'm going, I'm lost. They'd be too distracted by the different things that they're running into and discovering. So like there's a guy that spawns in named Phil, and he's dealing with this terrible problem of some nefarious fellow digging holes all over the place. So you'll encounter him and his irritating problem of the hole digger destroying all those flowers as an example.
Mm-hmm. So she just touched the bat over there. What happens? You know, is it
Uh,
like any you can only a certain amount of times, or is it?
So you have a health bar there on the right hand side. You start with 4, and then you can max it out at 10.
Oh yeah, and now it's 11 again. No,
No, that's the money. Up above that is
no.
the health counter.
Yeah, that's like a thermometer kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Hmm. But you can have some gain health at some point.
So in the game, we the only way to heal is either by talking to Lynn or sleeping. We added a self-controlled difficulty to the game through buffs. So the inn and Oakley shop sell these different buffs that will make the game much easier. Like Oakley can sell you something that makes falling in pits do no damage. She will double your damage. And then Keaton sells you something that when you die, you'll resurrect, and one that'll double your HP. So there's lots of different ways that, let's say you're on a boss and you've been fine up until this point, but you just can't beat this boss. Well, you can go get these buffs, beat it, so you never get hard stuck. You always have some sort of resolution that you can try.
All right. Mhm. I'm getting a bit like a Boulder Dash vibes from this part, from the Commodore 64 game.
I've never heard of that game.
Yeah, I'm not too
I've never
familiar
heard
with
of that
it either.
I don't think that it probably made across the Atlantic though.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
But it had this kind of sort of mines as well that you move around stones, and
Oh, okay.
you were
Yeah, we have a.
frog
Oh.
kind of frog-like kind of character.
Oh. Yeah, we have a lot of, I guess, I don't want to say like older, but we have a lot of people who grew up with kind of older Zelda and Pokemon games that really comment on the nostalgia factor of this. I think that's in like a lot of our reviews is people just feel like they're kind of taken back to their childhood.
Yeah, there's a lot of design that has been put into the characters. Like, I'm always fascinated to see how the guy actually looks when Mila goes to talk with somebody.
Oh yeah, like from their pixel art.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood over here.
It's true.
There we have him again.
Yeah, Amadeus is kind of a imposing figure on your journey. He makes it very clear that he doesn't really care for you too much.
So from here, if you want to have directions, you're supposed to be guided north when you go talk to Boulevard.
So Amadeus is showing up a little bit like everywhere. You sort of bump into him all the time in different places.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Act 1, you'll run into him a fair few times. We wanted to show the distrust of the community. Even if you don't go and talk to those people in the rest of the town, we wanted Amadeus to be there to show that at some point in your past, you did something bad and you went south and deserted everyone. You were in the wrong, and you're trying to make up for that. So even if you don't talk to anybody, you can understand that that was going on, and you can also feel a little bit concerned of, is this guy gonna come after me at some point?
Speaking of Amadeus.
Now, speaking of your friendly stalker.
Oh yeah.
Actually, we have 3 minutes left, so I
Yeah.
believe it's time for the advertisement. What do you want to tell the people about your game?
So if you're interested, we're on Steam Prodigal. It's $10. It's, I feel like, pretty good price for the amount of content. We have people who've put either from like 10 to like we have a guy who put in like
He's at
100 plus
400 now.
hours. Yeah. There's always more to explore and see. And if you want to like scratch that nostalgia itch, I feel like our game's perfect for that. We're on Twitter at Colorgrave Games. If you type in Colorgrave or Prodigal game, like indie game on Google, you'll be able to find like one of our outlets.
Yeah. And we've been sharing your info as well on our social media. So I hope people can find you from there as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thank you very
we
much
always,
for having us.
Yeah, and we always love having people come into the community. We're always active in our Discord and stuff, so we always love having new people come and talk about who their favorite girl is or their favorite song in the game or things like that.
All right.
Is there
Yeah,
going to be
this
a
was-
boss fight soon? I got curious. It kind of looks like that.
She's
At
gonna
the
get that
end of
dread
here.
hand soon.
Yeah.
She has 2 rooms until that, but the boss fight's a little bit away.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Thanks for coming here, and
Yeah,
let's keep in touch. We always want to hear about the process of the games and.
yeah. Thank you
what's
so much for
happening.
having us.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
It was really nice. So I will go and put on the next game.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Have a great day.
Thank you.
all right. So that was Prodigal.
Yeah.
And from here we'll go over to Shikon X, Astro Defense Fortress. How's the game feeling, Milla?
It's really good, addictive.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see you
I don't want to
concentrating.
stop.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
you were
got
so
into the
focused.
dungeon.
And now when it's getting
Oh.
interesting, you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were so focused when you were playing. You still are.
Yeah, I didn't first notice. I got back into the core.
Yeah. Okay, let me put on the next game.
Yeah.
Am I stuck?
Okay. Rift Breaker, yeah.
Oh, here's the hand that they were talking about.
Oh, it looks really cool. I'm happy we were able to see the hand.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the next developer as well.